Hi guys, FrostFangs here, welcome back once again, of course, to another video. We're doing another tier list. Wasn't really planning on doing these back to back. We did damages the other day, which if you haven't seen, you should watch that one first. We're going to be doing supports / healers today. This is going to be sort of a series. It was received very well from you guys, so thank you for all the support on the first video. I do want to clarify right at the start, this isn't a meta tier list at all. This is going to be just my personal rating for the characters. I mentioned that in the first one, but there were still people who were kind of confused thinking that I was rating the characters by how good they are. That does obviously play a part into it, because if they're crap and they're not fun to play, I'm not really going to rate them highly, but it definitely isn't the main reason. I'm taking a bunch of different things, combining them down into one letter, S being the best, D being the worst. I'm sure you know how a tier list works, and yeah, just simplifying how I feel about the different characters. So let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We'll start off with Corvus. He's going to go quite easily into B. I don't like the damage playstyle for Corvus at all. It's a bit of a failure, to be honest. I do like the healing side of Corvus quite a bit. The weapon is fine, the ultimate is fine, the F though is kind of rough, so I'm going to put him in B, maybe even C, high C, low B, somewhere around there. Don't feel like I can say too much really about Corvus. I've talked about it way more in my other videos on him, so if you want to go ahead and check those out to hear more about my thoughts on him, you can. We're going to move on to Furia, who's going to be an A, maybe even an S. I might bump her up a little bit later, but right now, going into A, if I go through her kit, I like the Q, I like the F, I like the ultimate, and the weapon. Not really too many complaints I have about Furia, to be honest. The healing playstyle can sometimes be a bit janky, but quite easily going into A or S tier for me. Also want to point out, because I forgot to mention it, seeing your guys' tier lists on the damages was really interesting, and it was often very different from mine, so let me know your thoughts and your personal tier list for the different supports and where you would rate them, because it probably is going to be, again, quite a bit different from mine, because the way I play Paladins is different from the way I think most people play, or at least that's what I'm told. Moving on to Grock, I'm going to put him also in A, probably about even with Furia. Again, going through his kit, I like the totems, I like the ultimate, I like the weapon. The F, I don't really like that much, but it can feel pretty satisfying. I don't really have too many complaints about him. A lot of the playstyles around Grock feel pretty good to play, so he's going to go in A. Very similar thoughts really with Furia, not really many things to complain about. On to Grover. He's a bit of a tough character for me to rank. I don't really know if I want to put him in B or C or A. He's lingering somewhere here in the middle. He definitely isn't S, definitely isn't D, but it's kind of hard for me to place him because I do like a lot of parts about him. The root, the F used to be really fun when you could just fling yourself kind of crazy distances. The Q is fine, the ultimate is a bit iffy, but I think for now I'm going to leave him in B, but I might move him around a little bit afterwards. Those of you guys who haven't been playing Paladins for ages though, go ahead and Google like an old video of Grover. Google just literally old Grover and it should come up. I've got videos on the channel, you might be able to find those, but yeah, Grover from back in the day was a very different character. Don't know if I'd say that I preferred old Grover. It's kind of hard to tell. It was flipping years ago, but right now he's going to go into B. I do like the ferocity playstyle. It's not very popular, but throwing the axes down range and hitting for like a K is really satisfying, so I think he's definitely going to be above a C. Moving on to IO, I think I'm going to put her right now in a C. It's kind of hard for me to rate IO as well, somewhat similar to a few other characters we've had in these tier lists already, but she's been changed quite a bit from when she originally came out. If I was to rate IO right around when she released, it would be an A, but right now it's probably low B or even our first C, just because Luna feels kind of janky at the moment. Doesn't really feel like she does all that much. Her ultimate can also be kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it feels really satisfying if you're on a map and you can get like 2 or 3 people off and you get, you know, a bunch of free kills, but a lot of the time it does feel like a bit of a useless ultimate. And because of the position she's in at the moment, because I can't really rate characters on how they were like 6 months ago, she's going to be a C. Moving on to what a lot of people think of when you say the word support or healer, Genos. He's a bit of a staple character, I'd say, for Paladins. He's often decided a lot of elements about the meta, especially with the damage buff and a few other parts about his kit, whether that was damage Genos or healer Genos, so he is probably an A or a B for me. It's a bit of a tough one. I do like the ultimate quite a bit, the right click and the weapon. The F is a little bit iffy. I feel like with a lot of healers, the F is like my least favorite part about their kit, kind of the same with Corvus and IO, like I've said already. At least for now though, I'm going to put him in a B, might move him up, might move him down. We'll see in a bit. Damber, first S tier quite easily. I used to have him as my favorite character for a reason. I love Damber to bits, even if he's not the best or most popular character ever. He's a bit of a classic for me. Going through his kit, I like the Q, I like the right click, I like the reload, although I don't like the base weapon that much. The F is pretty good. The ultimate is a bit hit or miss. I kind of wish his ultimate and his base hit on his weapon was a bit different, but even then, they're both fine. Although my opinion on a few parts of his kit changes every now and again, I'm going to put him into an S tier, although he might have a little bit of competition coming up. I'm sure those of you guys have been watching me for a while know that Damber was going to be very, very high on the list. Moving on to Pip, I think he's going to go into A. He's got the burst to heal department definitely covered. Damage Pip is also a very, very common thing. Probably the prime example of a hybrid healer, if I was to think about it, alongside Furia and Grock. I'm seeing some sort of trend here with the list now that I think about it. His ultimate is also incredibly unique, so he gets quite a lot of points for that. The Q, like I said, burst heals feels really good. Even the combat medic playstyle is pretty interesting. Damage Pip is also its own separate thing, so he's pretty versatile. He definitely comes to mind when I think about Paladins, the ultimate specifically, because I've used that sort of stuff in a bunch of the promo art. It also even transcended Paladins a little bit and moved on to Realm Royale. Rest in peace, although technically I think you can still play Realm Royale, it's just not getting any updates. I'm not going to talk about it in this video. This is a medics tier list. Let's go ahead and move on to Ray. She's also going to go in S tier, which might catch some of you by surprise, but again, if you watch my stuff regularly, you should have expected this, because Ray is a character that I liked quite a bit of release. I still like her now, even months after. Don't think that was a proper sentence, but yeah, Ray is going into S. The ultimate is kind of generic, same thing with the Q, the thinking, and that sort of stuff. The right click does feel pretty good though, and I like that quite a bit, and her weapon does as well. She overall doesn't have too many crazy things about her that differentiate her from other healers, even in Paladins, let alone other games. I feel like the execution was just done incredibly well. She fits into Paladins perfectly and does just her job really, really well. Dueling Ray is also a thing that I like a ton, even though it is a bit of a meme setup. I mean, just her walking animation and her reload animations give her quite a few extra points, but she's going into S tier, and I feel like I don't even really need to explain why all that much. On to Cerris, also a bit of a tough one for me. Far away from D, far away from C, but probably middle of B, maybe though A, somewhere around there. She is also a bit of a classic, really easy to play healer that I'd recommend to pretty much anybody. Then we also have damage and like stun Cerris, which is quite a bit different from the other stuff we've got in the game. It's a bit of a tough one for me to place because I don't really think I can give her an S or an A just because she is very simple. She doesn't have a very high skill ceiling and she can feel kind of repetitive to play. I like Cerris a lot, but just because of those reasons, I don't know if I could give her an A or an S, so she's going to go high B, probably above Genos. I feel like Genos and Cerris are weirdly similar in a few different ways. Her design is really cool, the skin she's got and the voice packs and all that stuff also kick pretty hard. Yeah, I could definitely see an argument for her being A or S tier. She's a perfect entry-level healer, but for me, I'm going to have to leave her in high B. Saying that though, I'm going to bump Corvus down from a B to a C. He really isn't on the same tier as these 8 healers right here, and I don't feel like he fits in as well, so I'm going to move him down even below IO. Actually, I don't know why I put him so high originally. That might seem kind of silly, but when I look at them all next to each other, it does give me a bit of a different feel. Moving on to Ying, she's going to go into low S, high A, somewhere around there. She's above B and C for sure, but it's hard for me to decide where to place her. I might actually put her in S tier, to be honest, even though for me, there's quite a bit of a gap between Damber and the other 2 S tiers. They all kind of deserve to be in S, to be honest. When I think about Ying, she is kind of a perfect healer in a lot of ways. The decoys is really, really unique. The ultimate feels fantastic, even though it's just a global heal. For some reason, it feels really, really good to use. Her damage output is also pretty good. If you were to ask me like 2 or 3 years ago where I'd have put it, it would have been like a C tier, but right now she's in a pretty good spot. She was pretty good to play, at least to me, but she's going to go, yeah, into low S tier. Definitely not the same level as Ray or Damber, but definitely up there. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the damage tier list and give myself a couple of minutes, see if I want to move anybody around. I've left D tier completely unpopulated, like I did with the damage tier list, just because I like pretty much all the characters. It's really hard for me to give anybody like the lowest of the rankings, but when I sit here and really do think about it, I very rarely go for Corvus these days, so I think I'm actually going to move him down to D tier, and I might actually move IO up, although because of Luna I'm going to have to leave her in C. It's really, really tough for me to decide where to put these characters. I think S tier is pretty stationary, that's not really moving. Same thing with A, I think they're going to be the same. I think the only other change I'm going to make is putting Grover down from B to C and leave it like that, probably above IO. Again, don't take it too seriously, it's just a personal ranking for the characters. It doesn't really matter too much, but hopefully it does give you a simplified view and kind of summary of my thoughts for the different characters, how I feel about them, how often I play them, and who I like the most. Thank you for all the support, of course, on the first tier of this video and just the videos in general. I really do appreciate it. I always forget to mention this in videos, but if you stayed here all the way till the end, don't forget to use code FrostFangs if you get anything from the Epic Store. Shout out to those guys that have used it already. And yeah, right before we go, we'll do a bonus round for some of the other characters, although there only is a few that you can kind of play as a support. Realistically, Sky is the only real one here. And yeah, Smoke and Dagger / support healer Sky has to go into A or B. I could see why you'd put them in either, but I don't think you can really give it anything lower or higher than that. It is pretty good, it's pretty unique, it does play quite a bit different from everything else, and she also is the only character that isn't a support that you can kind of play as a support. At the moment it's a little bit rough, they've nerfed it and changed it quite a bit, but if I think about it, when it was at its best it's an A, and where it is probably at the moment it's probably more like a B. Just imagine it somewhere in between these two. If only I had another tier, which I probably should do, but it looks better having 5. So we're going to leave it in A. Then we have Ram, which you can kind of play as a support with Subservience. That's going to go in D tier. Moji is a little bit better with Toot, but even then it's not really much of a healer playstyle, so I don't even know why I'm ranking it, but we'll put it into C, and that's actually it. Sky is really the only one who you can play as a support that isn't a support, or at least you used to be able to. She was actually at one specific point nearly good enough to replace a healer, and was actually pretty solid if you'd already locked in and nobody had grabbed one. But yeah, there we go. Let's take Ram emoji off of this so it looks semi-serious, and there is, yeah, the tier list. S tier, Damba, Ray, and Ying. A, Furia, Grock, Pip, and then Sky. Then B, C, and D, Cerris, Genos, followed by Grover and Io, and then finishing on Corvus. Don't know if I read that out right, I think I did, but thank you so much for watching. Of course, I really do appreciate staying all the way till the end. Let me know what other tier lists you want to see me do next. Like I said, I wasn't planning on doing 2 back-to-back, but it kind of works. These really are the perfect video between when the BTS is down and the update goes live, which I think they said would be at the start of November. Thank you so much for watching though. Like I said, leave a like if you enjoyed, let me know where you want to see me the next, and as always, stay frosty.